you can see, the wind is shut off. There's a front coming in, and this might be close to the end of the year. I got all my junk there, and I'm starting to nail my jibes and be less of a klutz, less of a what's the word? The awkward partner. I'm less of that, and I'm very, give me the word, satisfied with my progress that I've made this year. I'm getting about 3 out of 4 of my jibes. The ones I'm missing is because I'm stepping off the end of the board in the wrong place. It's a little too narrow, and my new board's finished, and we're just waiting for cash flow so I can go pick it up. So patience on that, and now patience on a little bit of the wind to see if there's a little more to come in. The purpose of my channel is to provide onus probandi. That is actual evidence of a personal Everest, so that you, like the geese that fly in a chevron, might be able to repeat it. You can see it and mimic it and follow and do the same. Sometimes people get in a funk. Sometimes the season ends. You spend a week in the smoke, and then you get a week of no wind, and then you get a week of rain, and the season's over, and you missed that opportunity. Patience is not really about just waiting for things to happen. It's not even about just finding little tasks to keep you busy, you know, like painting things or cooking things or reorganizing things or fixing your shoes, or even watching epidemiological curves unfold for days and weeks and months. Patience is about leveraging your time to gain insights and to sharpen your mind. Subjectively, that's how I see it, with strengths and coping mechanisms labeled as achiever, input, learner, belief, activator. That's a Vulcan mind melt telling a story. Pause for just a moment and give some thought to your strengths, which are your coping mechanisms, but how do those play out for the things that you keep yourself occupied with? After a week of no wind and an entire week of smoke, I'm obviously at the event site wearing my mask, and I dare take it off. Horrible smoke smell. And then a week of rain, I found myself getting really blah. I guess it was depression. I've never experienced that.
Killed my gut with lectins from tomatoes and peppers. It's a couple of days of fixing it with kimchi and chlorella. Gosh.
And so I had to use some of my tools to get my butt out of that crevasse. That one was horrible. Thankfully, those tools work. One of the things I had to concede, allow myself to admit, is that for the first time in my life, I know what depression is, or at least for a week. When I unexpectedly lost my coping mechanism, being able to be out here on the water, and then had to accept that that's the end of the season. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with myself. So I ended up watching my own episodes. Yeah, I went back and I binge watched this whole thing. The weather and the inability for me to go outside, as you see, it's now sort of lifting and I don't have to wear a mask on the outside of it. That has been mentally challenged. And I can say authentically, I've spent a few days in a funk for the first time in my life because I realized that there wasn't anything I could do about any of them. That was really mentally taxing. And then I went, wait a minute, I've never watched my own stuff. And I had this amazing experience. So last night I binge watched half of my book. And you should do that too. It's not bad. If you consider that I didn't know where I was going, I just set out to do something, and you should too. I just stuck the camera out as I am now doing, and you should too, because I discovered it's a perspective. See, let me see. If you're trying to get up an Everest and you get halfway in a cloud layer and you can't see the valley and you can't see the mountain, that can be horrible. And you'll be there. But because I have all of the books on video, no, I don't. I have the chapter. I have the entirety of the book in chapters on video. I could sit and watch my progress. I could watch those little signals that I know on fixation, or when I am triggered, or when I am pegged processing the next word. I could see that, and I could see an overall improvement in just that 6 months. And that was enough to free up I'm not making any progress. You see, take your strengths so you know likely where your storyline is going to be, where your ropes are going to be attaching to the next parts up the mountain. Because that perspective that you have actually made some progress will be required at some point. It's really important. Don't just look at mine and think, oh yeah, I'll just watch his. No, you need to mark your own pathway. I'm encouraging you to record in your device your journey. And maybe you don't want to put it on YouTube, but I'm assuring you that you're going to want to watch that at some point. And if you are watching this to have understanding for your partner or your child or your friend, then hold them accountable. You need to see that they are journaling with modern equipment so that they can become aware of their progress. It's hard to see from the inside because while you're being patient and stalled out on something you have to wait for, like graduation or getting out of the military or the wedding or childbirth or the next purchase or getting better from an illness, you know what that would be. Whatever that challenge is you're going through, you'll need to have the perspective of where you're at now versus where you were, and that little improvement will greatly set you free from Why is storytelling so important, especially for triangulation? Storytelling is a superpower. There's two reasons to really understand it. One is to specifically recognize when you're being gamed, when you're being handed a story, when the story that you're accepting is omitting a large amount of facts, that evidence you need for triangulation is straight up missing, you see? On the other side of the coin is that the story you tell yourself determines how much effort you're going to make. And 85% of success is just straight up pure luck. It's just perseverance. It's just hanging in there long enough that when the wind and weather is right, you're there prepared for the opportunity. So that 15% of effort that you take, you'll never take that unless you tell yourself a story. And therein is the superpower. The story you choose, the facts you align with, your worldview, determine the effort you're gonna make. And in the midst of all that, our scotomas, our blind spots, can be discovered. Look what I found out this week from a friend of mine, Alan Landis. This one really sort of shocked me because I had carried a false belief for over a decade. In the conversation, we were talking about storytelling as a superpower, and I said, sometimes you make points. One of them I remember significantly is that at your dining room table, you said to me something like, "Daniel, you just talk too much." And he went, "What?" He said, the point I was making, and what I thought I said was that it takes you a long time to get to your point. Talk about a scotoma. I remember, 100% wrong 50% of the time. I remember him saying, "Man, you talk way too much." The Dale Carnegie, the favorite subject is ourselves. And no, what he was saying was that it takes me forever to get to my point. Very complex. And I really hope someday I'm able to introduce him to you because he is the master of storytelling and a genius to put complex things into simple terms, something I far from master. Yes, yeah, you get my point? I better stop talking and get to it. I really appreciate him. We are still chasing the acquisition of our Airstream. Why would we be doing that? Our fifth attempt? Well, the triangulation portion of fact that we need for faith and to have hope, it's my YouTube channel. Let me show you the actual numbers, the statistics, so that you can base it on, quote, the science. No, you can look at actually what I see is where my opportunity is to talk to you. You most likely came to my channel based on the Airstream. These are the YouTube views of my channel and how long people have been watching. And this is the most watched video out of the 85 I think I have so far. This is the second most watched, third, fourth, fifth. The top 5 constitute nearly all of my viewing time. This is the bait. This is the market responding and giving me a big clue. Daniel, you should make more videos about Airstreaming. 70% of them are men. They're in the majority of them are in the 45 to 54 age group. They're almost all coming from the United States, 80%. Most of them are watching on their mobile phone. You see the emotion of finally discovering a market and a topic where people are at, and then having to wait months and months and months after 4 prior failed attempts at financing the Airstream. We've learned a lot. We're going to share that. But you see, it's not just about having a luxury recreational vehicle. It's about finding a way to connect with people, about building a bridge between me and them, and there's the data. And I've got to find, in my mind, I need the tool in order to reach the audience with what I think is the important message, but I'll be able to find an audience entry point and then communicate more important and deeper and richer things. Have to account for what you don't expect as part of the journey. The triggers come from the surprise, the shock, the unpreparedness for all the twists and turns that come with getting to your goal. You know, you've had lots of them. The story we tell ourselves greatly impacts the effort we'll make. Doing the hard thing. I just learned something because I did the hard work. I heard Attorney General William Barr say something that I was not familiar with, and I didn't understand it. And rather than just, let it go over my head, I decided, well, I should look into this. Bread and Circuses. Are you familiar with it?
Our Constitution was meant for a discerning, informed, virtuous people. And you have to raise the question of whether we still have that in our country, but we certainly have forces that are attempting to cultivate a dependent people. And it's the same old game. It's what's our bread and circuses today? It's all distraction.
A quick sidebar, onus probandi. Bread and circuses. That phrase piqued my interest because I didn't know what it was. So I did, as I wrote in volume 1, do the hard work. Don't miss an opportunity to do the hard thing. Don't just take a shortcut. Don't leave it, good enough. Don't leave it, don't have to do that. I went and did a little homework. Not much. You just got to look it up on Wikipedia. But it's a very interesting phrase because it's so evidenced in today's environment, especially just before the election. Bread and Circuses refers to a poet, writer of the late Roman Republic prior to the Roman Empire, that politicians found the easiest way to rise to power was to pass into law things that were bread, free food, welfare programs, guaranteed minimum income kind of things, coupled with entertainment, the internet, social media, in their case, it was coliseums, but today it's entertainment. So how do you rise to power? How do you control the masses in the Roman era? Well, bread and circuses was a phrase that was used and applies today when you look at the strategies being used in many of the races going on across the country. Let's just give it away. Let's just appease the masses. Don't have them do the hard work. Give them free food. Give them entertainment and sport. I'm just saying, it's something worth thinking about.
It's all about distracting people from anything that's important and principle and what's happening. That's why so many people don't pay attention. They're distracted. They're distracted by, all the stimulation of their senses that go on. And that goes part and parcel with creating dependence. So you have more and more people that just don't care.
The story we tell ourselves is really important because it gets us to do the hard thing, which is the research work to really dig in and find the facts, not just to accept the story. Turns out today I'm ill prepared. I don't have a small enough sail. Patience. I'll have the rest of my gear, I believe, based on my history of getting stuff. I'll have my new board, based on the history, the facts, the evidence. That's what patience can be about. Persevering while you wait for the proper things and timing to come about. Not giving up, not settling for someone else's story applied to your life. Not settling for the life you've been handed, but getting yourself the heck out of SCOTOMAVILLE. Thanks for watching this episode. I really appreciate your attention and your time.